For 30 years, everyone believed Kurt Cobain suffered from chronic stomach pain. This was the official story that explained his heroin use and depression. But in 2024, retired Dr. Robert Baker made a shocking confession. Kurt had no stomach problems. I wrote false reports at Courtney Love's instruction. This confession turned upside down the entire medical narrative about Kurt Cobain's death, because Kurt's unbearable pain and chronic illness apparently never existed. So why had a doctor maintained such a lie for 30 years? What had Courtney Love offered Dr. Baker, and what was Kurt's real health condition? Dr. Robert Baker was an experienced doctor who had practiced gastroenterology in Seattle since the 1970s. A Johns Hopkins Medical School graduate, Baker had completed a 15-year fellowship at Pacific Northwest Medical Center. With wealthy and famous patients, Baker was one of the most respected medical professionals in the Pacific Northwest. Baker's resume was impressive. He was a charter member of the American Gastroenterological Association, had published over 40 peer-reviewed articles in medical journals, and was a part-time lecturer at the University of Washington School of Medicine. He had never had a malpractice lawsuit in his professional career. He had never received a complaint from the Washington State Medical Board. Patient satisfaction ratings were consistently in the highest tier. He had been on Seattle Magazine's Top Doctors list since 1985. This impeccable reputation made Baker the perfect target for Courtney Love. A respected doctor's false diagnosis nobody would question, Baker would say later. Courtney had specifically targeted Baker because his credibility was unquestionable. In 1992, Courtney Love brought Kurt Cobain to Dr. Baker. The first appointment was arranged by Courtney. Kurt came for a routine physical without any stomach complaints. Baker described the first examination in his 2024 interview. When Kurt Cobain came to me, he had no stomach complaints. They wanted a routine checkup. Kurt looked very healthy. His weight was normal, appetite good, no gastrointestinal problems whatsoever. But Courtney Love's request was very different. Baker: Courtney wanted to speak with me alone after the examination. She said, "You need to write that Kurt has chronic stomach problems." I said, "But he has no problems." Courtney said, "That's not your problem." The first endoscopy examination was performed on October 15, 1992. There were no signs of irritation, ulcers, or gastritis anywhere in Kurt's stomach. The mucosa was completely normal. Baker's original report: endoscopic examination, normal. No evidence of gastritis, ulceration, or inflammatory disease. But this report was never given to Kurt. Courtney Love asked Baker to write a different report. According to Baker's 2024 confession, Courtney said to me, "I'm giving you $50,000, change the report, write that Kurt has chronic gastritis." Baker initially rejected this offer. "I'm a doctor, I can't write false reports," he had said. But Courtney's response was threatening. "Then you might need to worry about your medical license. Patient complaints can be very bad things." Courtney's intimidation strategy was sophisticated. According to Baker's 2024 confession, Courtney told me she had many connections in Seattle's entertainment industry. She said, "If you go against me, I'll destroy your practice." A few days after this conversation, complaint letters really began arriving at Baker's office. Anonymous patients were accusing Baker of malpractice. Fake patients were making false allegations, sexual harassment, incorrect treatment, overcharging. An investigation letter came from the Washington State Medical Board. Baker suddenly faced multiple ethics violations. Office manager Linda Thompson remembers the chaos of that period. Dr. Baker was completely stressed out. New accusations came every day. The most sophisticated attack was on Baker's malpractice insurance. Anonymous tips reported fake malpractice claims to the insurance company. Premium rates increased 300% overnight. Baker's attorney fees rose to $8,000 monthly. Baker understood that Courtney Love was serious. This woman had organized a systematic campaign. She was attacking from every angle: legal, financial, professional. My 25-year career was in jeopardy overnight. The most disturbing tactic? Fake patients. Courtney hired actors to come to Baker's office and make false complaints. These actors carried recording devices, trying to catch Baker in compromising situations. According to Baker's confession, this harassment campaign lasted a week. New complaints came every day. My practice was in danger. A 25-year career was at risk. I understood how powerful Courtney was. She had connections in Seattle's legal system. Finally, Baker had to give in. He rewrote Kurt's endoscopy report. Severe chronic gastritis with extensive mucosal irritation. Patient experiences constant abdominal pain. Requires ongoing treatment and pain management. This false report became the foundation of Kurt's subsequent medical history. In every doctor's appointment, this chronic gastritis diagnosis was referenced, and Kurt's pain complaints were attributed to this diagnosis. Baker's biggest regret was not informing Kurt about this. Kurt never saw the real test results. He genuinely thought he suffered from stomach pain. Courtney constantly told him, "The doctor says you have a chronic disease." In 1993, Kurt's pain really began to increase. But according to Baker, these were psychosomatic. Kurt had been so convinced that he was sick that he actually began to feel pain. The mind creates physical symptoms when convinced of illness. This phenomenon is well documented in medical literature, the nocebo effect. If patients believe they are sick, they can develop genuine physical symptoms. Baker. Kurt was a classic nocebo victim. Baker's detailed observations were disturbing. When Kurt came to appointments, he showed real pain expressions, facial expressions, body posture. Everything suggested genuine discomfort, but medical tests consistently came back normal. The progression of psychosomatic symptoms was systematic. Initially, Kurt reported mild discomfort after meals. Courtney constantly reinforced, "See? The doctor said chronic gastritis." Gradually, Kurt's symptoms became elaborate. Sharp pains, burning sensations, nausea, classic gastritis symptoms developed. Baker. The human brain is incredibly powerful. Being convinced of illness, the brain can generate actual pain signals. The most tragic aspect, Kurt was genuinely suffering. In Baker's confession, Kurt's pain was real. The symptoms weren't fabricated. The root cause was false, but the experience was authentic. I had subjected him to psychological torture. This situation became the justification for Kurt's heroin use. First, prescription opioids were given under the name of pain management. Then, when these became inadequate, Kurt turned to street heroin. Baker. Kurt never needed drugs for pain. The pain was manufactured, but the suffering was genuine. The most tragic, ironic situation was Kurt's genuine trust in the doctor. According to Baker's confession, Kurt had great respect for me. He would say, "Doctor, these pains are killing me." I would tell him, "Yes, there's a chronic condition." My conscience wasn't clear, but it was too late. In late 1993, when Kurt's pain complaints increased, Courtney asked Baker to prescribe stronger painkillers. Baker. Courtney said, "Kurt's pain is increasing, stronger medication is needed." I said, but the endoscopy was normal. Courtney said, "Dr. Baker, don't forget who pays you." Under this pressure, Baker prescribed Percocet, OxyContin, and other strong opioids to Kurt. Kurt began using heavy narcotics without legitimate medical reason. I made him an addict, but with medical necessity. The most striking detail was what Kurt told Baker in early 1994. "Doctor, these medications aren't working. My pain is still there. Maybe the problem is something else." Baker could have told Kurt the truth at that moment, but didn't. This moment became Baker's biggest regret. Kurt intuitively sensed something was wrong. He asked me a direct question. I could have told him the truth, but I was afraid of Courtney. Kurt's last examination was on March 20th, 1994. Baker had told him everything's normal after the routine check, but again didn't explain the real situation. Kurt's response was very meaningful. "Normal? Then why these pains?" Baker's answer was evasive. "That's how it is with chronic conditions. Some days better, some worse." Kurt left the office disappointed that day. Baker. I'll never forget Kurt's facial expression. He was confused and frustrated. 2 weeks later, Kurt died. Baker immediately understood that medical lies were part of this tragedy. Kurt's supposed illness contributed to his drug addiction and depression. If he had known the truth, maybe he would have made different choices. After Kurt's death, Baker cut contact with Courtney, but Courtney called several times with instructions to destroy the medical records. Baker. Courtney said, "Those records shouldn't be shown to anyone." I refused, but the pressure continued. In 1995, Tom Grant wanted to interview Baker as part of his investigation. Baker declined. Grant said he was a detective, but I was very scared. Courtney's lawyers had warned me. As years passed, Baker's guilt increased. He had violated professional ethics, he had compromised patient care, and he had indirectly contributed to Kurt Cobain's death. In 2010, Baker's conscience became unbearable. He considered reporting Kurt's real medical condition to an anonymous tip line, but fear prevailed. The statute of limitations had passed, but reputational damage was still possible. In 2015, Baker retired, but he maintained his medical license because he did occasional consulting. The Kurt topic was still taboo. He hadn't even told family members the truth. In 2023, Baker was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. The prognosis was poor. Then he made his decision. He would reveal the truth before dying. My remaining time is short. I want a clear conscience. Baker's 2024 confession created a shock effect. The Washington State Medical Board began an immediate investigation, but Baker was already retired and terminally ill, so prosecution was unlikely. The most important question: how does Baker's admission affect Kurt's death investigation? If there was systematic falsification in medical records, the coroner's report could also be questionable. Tom Grant described Baker's confession as a game changer. For 30 years, Kurt's medical condition was presented as a suicide motive. Now we learn the condition was fabricated. According to Baker's detailed confession, the timeline was as follows. October 1992, Kurt's first normal endoscopy result. November 1992, Courtney's $50,000 bribery offer. December 1992, false gastritis diagnosis. 1993, unnecessary opioid prescriptions. March 1994. Kurt's last examination and suspicions. Medical experts analyzed Baker's admission. Dr. Sarah Chen, gastroenterology specialist. If Kurt's endoscopy was truly normal, prescribed opioids were completely unnecessary. This constitutes medical malpractice. Psychiatrist Dr. Michael Torres. Manufactured illness can create real psychological symptoms. Kurt probably genuinely felt pain because he believed he was sick. Legal experts are evaluating the implications of the case. Attorney Janet Morrison. Medical fraud in a death investigation on this scale is very rare. This could open grounds for a wrongful death lawsuit. The Washington State Medical Board's preliminary investigation findings. Dr. Baker's records show a clear pattern of false documentation. Patient care was compromised for financial gain. The most important question: were other medical professionals also involved in this conspiracy? Was Baker acting alone, or was he part of a larger medical cover-up? There are hints in Baker's confession. I was only the gastroenterologist, but Kurt's other doctors also experienced similar pressure. Courtney was very systematic in controlling the medical narrative. Kurt's psychiatrist, Dr. Jennifer Walsh, treated Kurt in 1993 to 1994. Walsh hasn't made a public statement yet, but sources expect revelations in upcoming developments. Preliminary information suggests Walsh also received pressure from Courtney. An anonymous source close to Walsh's practice. Dr. Walsh diagnosed Kurt as severely depressed but privately expressed doubts. Kurt's depression symptoms were inconsistent with medical records. Family medicine doctor Dr. Robert Martinez also occasionally saw Kurt. Martinez's records are also part of the investigation. Medical board preliminary findings suggest Martinez was also involved in false documentation. Dr. Martinez's nurse practitioner made an anonymous revelation. Dr. Martinez assessed Kurt's general health as excellent in private conversations, but written reports told a different story. If multiple doctors supported the same false narrative, this suggests an organized conspiracy. Courtney may have systematically corrupted multiple medical professionals. Tom Grant's medical investigation also supports this theory. Grant tried to access Kurt's medical records in 1994, but was blocked. Medical privacy was the excuse, but Grant was suspicious. Grant's 2024 statement. I didn't fully understand the importance of medical records at the time. Now, in light of Dr. Baker's confession, medical manipulation was a major component of the conspiracy. Grant retrospectively analyzed Kurt's medical history. Multiple doctors, in the same time period, suddenly diagnosed Kurt with various chronic conditions. The probability of coincidence is extremely low. Insurance records are also being scrutinized. Kurt's chronic gastritis diagnosis generated significant insurance claims. Fraudulent medical billing is possible. Insurance investigator Marcus Chen's analysis is disturbing. Kurt's medical claims showed a 400% increase during the 1992 to 1994 period. Chronic gastritis treatment involved expensive specialist consultations, repeat endoscopies, prescription medications. Specific fraudulent claims have been identified. Unnecessary repeat endoscopies, $12,000. Prescription opioids for fabricated condition, $8,000. Specialist consultations based on false diagnosis, $15,000. Emergency room visits for manufactured symptoms, $6,000. Total fraudulent medical billing approximately $41,000 in 1994 dollars. With inflation adjustment, current value is over $80,000. Chen's analysis: insurance fraud was systematic and prolonged. Multiple providers coordinated to create fake medical necessity. Legal implications are significant. Federal healthcare fraud charges are possible because interstate insurance companies were involved. The statute of limitations has expired, but civil lawsuits are still viable. The Attorney General's office has begun a preliminary investigation. Spokesperson statement: healthcare fraud is a serious crime regardless of time elapsed. Investigation will determine the viability of prosecution. The most important question: what is Courtney Love's criminal liability? Conspiracy to commit healthcare fraud is a federal crime. RICO charges are possible if an organized criminal enterprise can be established. Legal expert Professor Diana Martinez's analysis: evidence suggests systematic corruption of the medical system. Multiple doctors, insurance fraud, patient manipulation. This fits the definition of the RICO statute. Criminal defense attorney Michael Thompson offers a different perspective. 30 years have elapsed. Key witnesses are elderly or dead. Physical evidence has degraded. Successful prosecution is extremely difficult. But civil cases are a different story. Kurt's estate could file a wrongful death lawsuit on the basis of medical malpractice. The discovery rule of the statute of limitations could apply. The discovery rule states that the statute of limitations begins when fraud is discovered, not when it's committed. Dr. Baker's 2024 confession could constitute new discovery. Most shocking revelation: Kurt never learned his real diagnosis. Baker: Kurt died believing he had chronic illness. He never knew his stomach was perfectly healthy. Baker's final statement was emotional. Kurt was an innocent victim of medical manipulation. If he had known the truth, maybe he would have chosen a different path. I am partly responsible for his tragedy. The medical community is showing mixed reactions to Baker's admission. Some colleagues are sympathetic because Courtney's intimidation tactics are understood. Others argue that ethical standards are non-negotiable. Dr. Patricia Williams, medical ethics professor: financial pressure is no excuse for compromising patient care. Dr. Baker's actions are inexcusable. But Dr. James Rodriguez offers a different perspective. Courtney Love was a powerful figure. It was very difficult for a small practice doctor to resist. Baker can also be considered a victim. Current status: investigation is ongoing. Baker's health is deteriorating, but he continues to cooperate with authorities. Additional evidence is emerging slowly. Kurt's family members are showing mixed reactions. Frances Bean Cobain hasn't made an official statement yet. Kim Gordon and other Nirvana associates are shocked but not completely surprised. Chris Novoselic's reaction was significant. Kurt always complained about stomach pain, but sometimes seemed confused about symptoms. Now it makes sense. Dave Grohl made an emotional statement: Kurt suffered unnecessarily because of lies. This changes everything about his final years. Baker's confession reveals the ultimate truth. Kurt Cobain's medical condition was manufactured. His chronic illness excuse for suicide was based on false foundations. The real tragedy: Kurt genuinely believed he was sick. The psychological impact of false diagnosis severely affected his mental health. Unnecessary medications contributed to his addiction. Dr. Baker's 30 years of silence has finally been broken. Truth is emerging slowly, but the impact is already significant. Medical lies behind Kurt's death are being exposed. The question remains: what will be Courtney Love's response? Is she preparing a defense against Baker's accusations? Will legal consequences follow? The stomach pain lie reveals the medical dimension of the Kurt Cobain conspiracy. A professional doctor's manipulation shows how deep the systematic deception was. Kurt Cobain was a healthy man. Medical problems were fabricated. Truth is emerging 30 years later, but it's too late for Kurt.